Wasabi guys, coming back at you with yet another patron requested deck tech. This time we are going to be looking at one of the newest commander options from Commander 2017 in Nazan Revered Bladesmith. This was requested by Rhino, one of my awesome patrons. He wanted me to take the deck into a direction that wasn't cat tribal specific, which isn't really a big deal. I mean, he is pretty much just going to be based around equipment. He is perfect for Voltron, so that's basically what I'm going to do here. He did want the deck to be budget, so I will be keeping that in mind when I go through this deck. And if you want to look at the deck list, it will be in the description below. And if you would like for me to do specific deck techs for you, all you have to do is check out my Patreon. The link for that will be in the description below. Let's get into this here. Nazan Revered Bladesmith, for those of you who don't know what he is a 6-mana Celestia colored 5/4 cat artificer that has, whenever he enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for an equipment card, reveal it. If you reveal a card named Hammer of Nazan, which I'll show you in a minute, you get to put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you just put it into your hand and then you shuffle your library. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you get to tap target creature defending player controls. So it works really well, making him your Voltron commander because you get to tap down at least one creature whenever you attack. If you have multiple creatures that are equipped, then you get to tap down multiple creatures, so that's very cool. Now his hammer here is a big reason why a lot of people are calling him Cat-Thor. He basically summons his hammer from your deck and brings it to his hand, very much like Thor. So it is 4 mana with an equip cost of 4, but don't worry about that because you rarely ever are going to need to do that. Whenever Hammer of Nazan or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. And it gives the equipped creature +2/+0, and it gives it indestructible. So right off the bat, Nazan can search this up and automatically put it onto the battlefield. And whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to automatically attach it to a creature. So you get to search it up and then put it into play attached to Nazan. So right there, you're paying 6 mana for a 7/4 indestructible that makes all of your other equipment in your hand so much better. Because every time you play them, it automatically attaches. You don't have to worry about paying the equip cost or anything like that. So right there, just a very impressive looking option here for Voltron style decks. And not only that, you don't have to search up the hammer. You could search up some sort of protection like a Lightning Grease or a Swiftfoot Boots if you desperately need that. So let's get on to the land base here. Always important. Even though this is budget, I do prefer to play some fetches and some shock lands in my decks. Good thing about it is while both of these cards are over $10, you only really need 2 of them. Windswept Heath and Temple Garden. We're not talking about a Savannah. We're just talking about a shock land and a card that can get you the shock land. However, if you are on a budget that is a little bit more demanding, you could definitely do without these. They are more for consistency, which you can also get out of other staples such as Croson Verge, similar lands like that. Then we have some synergistic lands here. They're going to deal with artifacts. We have Inventor's Fair, we have Ancient Den and Tree of Tales, the 2 artifact lands in these colors. Inventor's Fair kind of deals with the whole metalcraft thing that we want to have here, sort of like a small sub-theme. It's not a big deal, but if we can get it off, it's going to allow us to sacrifice the Inventor's Fair and search for an artifact from our deck, which is most likely going to be one of our deadly equipment cards. Moving on from lands, we have some artifact ramp. It's always important too. Soul Ring, Celestia Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, and Commander Sphere. We do have other forms of ramp in the deck, so it's not 100% necessary to have a ton of artifact ramp. We also have creature ramp. We have Birds of Paradise, Sakura Tribe Elder, and Solemn Simulacrum all help us to ramp up in our deck. And we also play Cultivate and Kodama's Reach for consistency and mana fixing as well. Moving on to the bulk of the deck, which is going to be equipment. We play a Masterwork of Ingenuity to copy some awesome artifacts that we happen to have. Never a bad thing, it's just 1 mana. Then we have Bloodforged Battle Axe, another new card. You get to get copies of it, you get to reattach those copies, get even more copies each time you swing and deal damage. Hilarious card. Skull Clamp may not be immediate value, but if anything you happen to have it equipped to dies, you get to draw the 2 cards, so it's not terrible. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots for protection. Sword of the Animist for that extra bit of ramp if you need it, or if you're missing land drops, you have that bit of utility there. Conqueror's Flail to protect us from control decks or any type of deck that wants to answer with instant speed removal. Force them to do things on their turn. Always a good thing. Hero's Blade. Whenever you play Nazan, it automatically attaches. So if you happen to play him for the first time, you automatically attach the Hero's Blade and you get to search up the hammer and it enters the battlefield and automatically attaches. That's a lot of power and toughness off your first casting of Nazan. Trailblazer's Boots gives him non-basic land walk, going to deal a massive amount of damage if he can't be blocked. Same thing with Whisper Silk Cloak, gives him Shroud but makes him unblockable. Loxodon Warhammer and Sword of Vengeance both give some very solid keywords in addition to allowing us to push through with things like Trample. Then we play a weird card here, an Heirloom Blade. I definitely think it's worth it. We do play some cats in the deck to where it would be worth it if Nazan happened to die. We do happen to get some good cats from our deck to our hand. It's not bad, it's value. Plus he gets +3 power, so can't be too upset about that. Then we play Quietus Spike. If you happen to connect, you get to half their life total. That's always funny. Then we have Godsend, very good utility. Get to exile creatures that happens to block, so it could double as removal there. And it's also a deterrent. They don't want to block with their good creatures, so they're gonna have to chump. Then we have Behemoth Sledge, gives good keywords, makes him bigger. Grafted Exoskeleton gives him Infect and +2/+2. If we can make him even bigger, we can just knock out players left and right easily. Grappling Hook is a great way to single out any specific creature you don't want on the field and just murder it with Double Strike. It's hilarious. Then we also play all 3 pieces of Kaldra. The helm, the shield, and the sword. They all do different things. I would say the best one is probably the sword. The helm gives good keywords, but the shield's kind of just indestructible and really only useful if you have all 3 of them out at the same time. But if you happen to get all 3 out, then you just activate the helm and you get the 4/4 avatar and you get to attach them also. You're not 100% dependent on Nazan to make the deck work. You don't have to play these. These are all around $5 each. I think the sword's the most expensive one. All of these are under $10. I don't know if they're 100% necessary. I just like them. I think they're definitely a good replacement for something like the swords. These can kind of help you push through as well in similar ways. Then we play Argentum Armor because being able to destroy a target permanent off of an attack trigger is always funny, and you get the +6/+6 buff on Nazan, which is never a bad thing in Voltron. Moving on to good creatures here, we do play Mother of Runes. She gives protection, a lot of value on a 1-drop. Strom Senior Edificer, we play a lot of equipments. Why not draw cards whenever we play them? Relic Seeker allows us to search up an equipment card from our deck as soon as we get him renowned. Leonin Shikari allows us to equip at instant speed, so if we have a Lightning Greaves out there, we can just bounce it from creature to creature and not really worry about paying any cost. It goes do it in response to removal, so that's nice. Grand Abolisher, very similar to Conqueror's Flail, going to make it so that our opponents can't mess with us on our turn. And then Qasali Pridemage, good value there, utility, gives Exalted Trigger. This is exactly the card that you want for Celestia Voltron. Also doubles as utility. You get to destroy an artifact or enchantment. We play Armory Automaton. Awesome. You get to play him. All equipment gets attached to him, even ones that your opponents control. You don't gain control of them, but they do just become attached to him, so they can choose to unequip them if they want to. But just a quick way to get a complete monster out on the field. Brass Squire, just a little dude that can tap to equip, so you don't have to pay the equip cost. You just have a dude that can tap to do it for you. Reclamation Sage, 3 mana, elf. Have it enter the battlefield and you get to destroy an artifact or enchantment. I can't tell you how underrated these types of cards are. Eternal Witness, 3 mana, enters the battlefield. We get to return a card from our graveyard to our hand. Tajnar, Swordsmith, when it enters the battlefield, we get to pay X and search up an equipment card from our deck, so you get that search on the ETB. Leonin Abunus gives our artifacts hexproof. Then we play Indomitable Archangel, gives our artifacts Shroud, as long as we have Metalcraft. We play Balan Wandering Knight, has the activated ability that's similar to the Armory Automaton, to where we can just attach all of our equipment to her. And she also makes a pretty decent Voltron option herself. She's just in here mainly to support the equipment theme. Qasali Slingers, Rhino said he didn't want to do a tribal-based build, but I just love this value that you get off of creature ETBs. Our commander is also a cat, so if we can destroy an artifact or enchantment off of our commander entering the battlefield, that's not bad either. And we do play other cats in the deck. It's not necessarily tribal. This might be the only tribal based card in the whole deck, but it definitely works well. Then we play Stonehewer Giant, a little bit on the pricey side, closer to $7. You could cut it if you want to, but he just makes it easier for you to get any sort of equipment that you want from your deck. Sun Titan helps us recover, get back some equipment that we may have lost, as long as it's CMC 3 or less, no problems, and he's a pretty good attacker as well. Then we move on to enchantments. We only really play 2 here. Not a huge enchantment heavy deck. We play Sigarda's Aid, allows us to play our equipment at flash, and whenever an equipment we control would enter the battlefield, we get to attach it to a creature we control, which is always good. Then we play Mirari's Wake. Cost shouldn't be too much of a factor here. It did come included with the deck, so you get to double your mana. Never bad. Then we move on to removal. We play Swords to Plowshares. We play Dispatch. Since we play a lot of equipment, it shouldn't be too hard to trigger the Metalcraft, and you basically just get to pay the 1 white to exile with no other drawbacks. So it's basically a better Swords to Plowshares in this deck. Krosan Grip, Split Second, being able to destroy an artifact or enchantment, very useful card. One of the more useful cards that should be included in just about every single green deck. Beast Within, great removal in green, we get to destroy permanent. Return to Dust gives us the ability to play it during our main phase, and we get to exile up to 2 artifacts or enchantments. Exiling removal is always good. Sylvan Reclamation, basically the same thing, only difference is that at instant speed you also get to exile up to 2 artifacts or enchantments. It's 5 mana in Celestia colors, and it also gives you the option for basic land cycling, which is so good and so underrated. Now for wrath effects, we don't play too many, but we do have 2. We have Day of Judgment and Divine Reckoning, just your simple basic wrath effects. Divine Reckoning gives us the option of picking out Nazan and having everything else just die. So anyway guys, that was my Nazan Revered Bladesmith deck tech for Rhino, one of my patrons. Remember, if you're interested in doing something like this, just check out my Patreon. The link will be in the description below. For just $5 in a monthly pledge, you get to ask me once a month to do a specific deck tech video for you, or a specific top 10 video for you. And also, if you are interested in looking at the deck list, it will also be in the description below. I really enjoyed Nazan when I first saw he was spoiled. Automatically, I just felt that he was the best legendary in the whole deck. Arabo is more cat tribal based, which isn't too terrible. However, I just like Voltron in Celestia colors. I think it's so powerful. You have a ton of options and just a lot of oppression that you can mix in there as well, so it's not just a linear Voltron deck. And there are a lot of good equipment synergies with cats, so if you do decide to go with cat tribal for Nazan, you definitely have options there. There are a lot of cat tribal / artifact sub themes in the Mirrodin block. But yeah, I definitely love the comparisons to Thor. He basically is Thor if Thor were a cat. He gets to search up his own artifact, his own hammer, and he gets to put it into play attached to him, so that is just awesome. But anyway guys, if you enjoyed this deck tech, please subscribe for more. Check out my channel for other awesome videos. I do top 10s as well. So anyway guys, Void here signing off. You all have a wonderful day.